So, we've got a really concerning impression of this place and the people in it. What happened to Amelie's parents? What is Lilika's role in all this? And what happened to Sofia? What is actually going on in the outside world? Just the sheer jarring difference between the life that Amelie has lived and the life that Sofia has lived is really concerning. What is going on here? I suppose there's two outcomes to Sofia's story? I suppose Lilika's story is the truth. Eve. Sofia. The rain never seems to cease at this time of year. It pours from the sky in its unending grief, as if longing for something unseen. Thunder roared in the distance, enough so to make the young woman flinch, but not enough to make her waver. The taxi gently rocked as the road turned to rubble. The rubble turned to overgrown dirt track. Outside the window, Sofia could barely see a few feet away through the raging storm. It made her feel uneasy. In her lap, a letter. She read the words again, despite knowing them off by heart. Dear Sofia, how glad I am to hear that you are well. I am healthy, although I believe I may have a problem of the heart. It's gotten quite lonely waiting here for my parents to return. I am thankful to have Lilika residing with me. I still wait the day where my family will be reunited. You say that it is safe enough for you to visit. Truly. I've never even dared to dream of being able to see you in the flesh. If it is true, then I will await you at the address written on the back of this letter. Yours, Amelie. You sure you have the address right? We're in the middle of nowhere. Sofia stared at the fragile, handwritten address that Amelie had left her. Had trusted to her. Yes, this is the right way. I'm sure of it. Her heart wouldn't settle. Meaning what could be a stranger in the middle of nowhere on a day like this? Who wouldn't be nervous? But there was something else. Eagerness. Thrill. What a thrill. Something beyond mere nerves that turned into excitement. You could barely imagine the hand that had penned the letters she had been receiving for years on end. Years. Let alone a face. For some reason her heart still beat hard when reading the words of the mysterious young lady of 19. A manor far out in the middle of nowhere wrote to her. Desperate to calm her jitters, she pulled out her phone, looking to send her worried family one last message of reassurance, only to find that it wouldn't switch on. I'm sure it was fully charged. The rain was falling even more heavily now. In the distance, a building sprang into view. It was surrounded by a tall metal fence with an ornate gate firmly shut at the front. Just then the taxi sputtered and rolled to a stop, smoke rising from the hood. This trip is cursed. What the? I had this service a week ago. Is something wrong? Sorry, miss. Looks like we're out of action. It's okay. I think we're nearly there anyway. Pulling the cash from her wallet, she handed over her fare and stepped out of the car. This place is thoroughly cursed, it seems like. Rain bucketed down from above, soaking her to the very core. She shivered as she dashed toward the iron gate. Surprisingly, it pushed open with little effort, and not even a creak. Sofia stopped in front of the large wooden door, finally free from the seemingly never-ending downpour. From afar, that door had seemed inviting enough. Now it looked awfully large and imposing, and she raised her fist and knocked anyway. Silence followed. This is not the right place after all? The door swung open, this time with a low, menacing groan. On the other side of that doorway was a fair girl with long brown hair and golden eyes. Sofia, forgetting the fact that she was soaking wet, rushed forward and embraced the girl. Amelie! Sofia! Amelie's gentle arms wrapped around Sofia's back in return, and finally all of Sofia's worries melted away. My, you're completely drenched. Did you forget your umbrella, perchance? Or perhaps her umbrella got carried away by the wind. What? Lilika said that. Previously. Behind Sofia, the front door swung shut without any assistance. Oh, I'm really concerned. Hmm? I didn't even think to bring an umbrella. The forecast said sunny all day. My fault for believing it, I guess. I can't believe you're truly here. Me either. About time, right? You're just as pretty as I knew you'd be. Oh, and you are, and you too. What are you wearing? Seeing as your house, I feel like I should have dressed up a little more. No, perhaps it is I that is overdressed. Sofia smiled. Somehow her dress sense seemed to fit her writing style perfectly. Old-fashioned, and yet very neat and respectable. Sofia felt a slight heat rising to her cheeks. She really was so refined and elegant. Pardon my manners. My dear friend Lilika is here too. I believe I wrote about her in the past. I remember. I've kept all your letters safe, don't worry. As you should. Sorry, but is there any chance you have a towel? Yeah, Sofia is saying Lilika's lines. Who is Lilika? And what happened to her? Oh, I'm immediately intrigued. Just immediately throws a loop into what we saw from Amelie's perspective here. Is there any chance you have a towel? Of course. My apologies, I would usually have someone here to tend to us, but everyone's been sent home. Only the three of us remain. Let me fetch you a towel. Amelie withdrew from the hug. She was a little taller than Sofia, despite both being the same age. Sofia peered up at her from below before she disappeared down a hallway and into another room. This really is a manor. She told me about her house. I almost didn't believe it. A layer of dust rested against a tabletop, along with a few other items. On the settee, a newspaper sat open. Ooh. Look at the tabletop. Sofia ran her finger over the tabletop. The wood was carved with an intricate pattern that rounded around the edge of the surface. Her hand reached across to pick up a book that laid face down. Behind Sofia, the window began to shake in the wind as her fingertips grazed the surface. It's so windy. Whoa! Swung around just in time to see the front door fly open, and a howling wind filled the entryway. She scrambled to the door, and with great effort, shut it again. Whew. Amelie? Sofia spun back around. The newspaper and the items on the table were all gone. Sofia! Oh, Amelie! Please, use this. Ah. No Lilika, and very jump-scary. I want to see your thoughts on the newspaper. The settee was deep, emerald green. It looked almost unused despite its apparent age. On it rested a newspaper. Open in a few pages. Sofia turned her head to read the headline, but from afar could only read the word plague. She reached across to pick up the newspaper. Ah. She missed the newspaper. Surprise! Please, use this. Thanks. I'll bring an umbrella next time, I promise. Sofia took the towel in her hand. It was soft, somewhat old. Slightly dried her hair and clothes, but still found herself cold. And if you're now dried off, would you care for a tour of the house before afternoon tea? That sounds great. On your right is the pantry, and down that hall is the boiler room. You shouldn't have any need for those spaces. Two walked side by side, alone in such a big manor. These are all guest bedrooms. I prepared this one for your use. If you find anything not to your standards, you can let myself or Lilika know. Amelie, I have a feeling your standards are much higher than mine. Never even been in a house that looks like this. Sofia probably has no idea that there's something strange here. Because from Amelie's perspective, Lilika's been right here all along. But from Sofia's perspective, Lilika could just be Amelie's friend who she hasn't met yet. Never even been in a house that looks like this. No? Is your home not similar? Well, it's a lot smaller. There's no shame in that. You own your own property, yes? Yeah, I recently bought it. With your husband? What? No, of course not. I'm not married. Your father allowed you to buy property on your own. You speak just like how you write. I'm so surprised. And you speak quite casually. That was a Lilika line. People usually say that about me. Being here around you makes me want to be more formal. What need is there a formality between friends? That's true too. This is the morning room, and next door the dining room. We have afternoon tea in the sitting room here. So many rooms. Upstairs is my bedroom and the master bedroom. Must ask that you don't enter the master bedroom as it belongs to my parents who are currently away. The landing below, Sofia could see the door to the master bedroom. For some reason, her eyes were glued to it. Come open the door. I don't like this. We're waiting for you. What is this? Bad feeling. Of course, I won't go poking around anyway. What the fuck? Sofia shook her head, and time seemed to resume around her. Oh, this walking has made me parched. Shall we take afternoon tea now? Sure. That sounds good. Why don't you have a seat while Lilika and I prepare our food? Oh, I can come and help. Nonsense, you're my guest. Oh. Defy your fate. You're my guest. It would be remiss of me to allow you to lift a finger. If you insist, I'm happy to help any time. Thank you. I'll be back soon. Please rest. Amelie. Yes? It's nothing. Take your time. We have to see... I want to see how our fate plays out from Sofia's perspective first. Before we go defying our fate. That's clearly the two endings at play here. If that 0 out of 2 does mean two endings. The room was spacious and dead silent apart from Sofia's footsteps as she crossed the wooden floor. Each step was deliberate and slow as her eyes searched through the room. Nothing in particular stood out. A large window showed a glimpse of the outside world through thick curtains. The rain was still coming down hard, obscuring her view. The window shook every now and then, but then the wind had seemed to die down a little. Behind her, a chair at the dining table had been pulled out, as if it were waiting for her to sit down. Amelie, was that you? Amelie? Her hand rested against her chest, begging her heart to calm. Or Lilika. Whether a hollow laugh sounded through the room or not, she wasn't sure. She quietly sat down in the seat that was left for her. The table was already set, but once again she noticed a thin layer of dust on the surface. That is very concerning. Through the silence, Sofia could hear it again. Footsteps. This time from directly above. This bitch haunted. The master bedroom. This bitch haunted. What? In front of her very eyes, Sofia watched the scene unfold. A woman, no older than 40, moved her shoes and stepped onto the table, yet nothing was disturbed. She reached up and took hold of the noose. The rope wrapped around her neck like the finest pearl necklace. Join me. The same place her parents went. What? The woman's eyes locked onto Sofia's. Her hand was outstretched, waiting to be taken. A rusty smell filled her nose, accented with a faint smell of perfume. Sofia shivered in response, her breath frosty on her lips. No wonder Sofia looked so fucking terrified when we brought the tea out. She reached for the hand, slowly. I'm back. Ah! Sofia? Oh, wow. Oh, Amelie. Sorry, you scared me. Defy your fate. I think we have a pretty clear picture of the fate that we're defying now. Is everything alright? Sofia stared at the spot where the woman was only a moment ago. Both she and the noose had disappeared. Yes, I think I'm just a little tired. Good. I'm sorry for the delay, but I prepared the tea and the pastries. So, this is what a high tea looks like. High tea will come later. This is just a simple afternoon tea. Will Lilika be joining us? I believe so. Was she here a moment ago? No, she wasn't here. How strange. Told me she was coming to sit with you. Perhaps she's gotten herself busy with something else. Should we wait? There's no need. It would be sad to let the tea go cold. Sofia watched as the tea filled 2 out of 3 cups. The 3rd cup sat empty. For some reason, the very sight filled her with dread. Yeah, now she's worried. He picked up the cup and brought it to her lips. It was green tea. The taste was bitter and musty. With her heart on edge, she placed the cup back down on the saucer, smiling towards Amelie. Did you have much trouble getting here? A little. My ride broke down, so I had to walk for a bit. It broke down. I'm extremely sorry. If the staff had been here, I would have sent somebody to collect you. It's okay, it's just a little rain. I just wouldn't want you catching fever. Medicine stores are running low of late. No worries, I usually carry ibuprofen with me. Ibuprofen? I haven't heard of it. Anyway, I'm glad you arrived here safely. I'll draw a bath for you later to make sure you are warmed up properly. Thank you. Amelie sipped at her tea before looking down at it with a confused expression. It'll stale. It's my father to procure a new batch when he arrives home. Where are your parents, by the way? Well, we were separated due to the plague. It took the staff to wait until a cure was found and left me here with Lilika as to not catch the disease. Right, I understand. I spent a lot of time separated from my family due to the pandemic, too. It warms my heart to find another thing in common with you, Sofia. I was surprised to hear that it's safe enough for you to visit. Perhaps that means my parents will be back soon, too. I think so. The world seems to be opening back up again. So what do? Locked up in this big house all the time? I usually spend my time sewing or playing music. I used to write, but... What? Well, my parents wondered if it was feminine enough. I don't really think that matters. If you enjoy it, then I say you should do it. Sofia, then what about you? Well, I'm studying art at university right now, so I guess that's what I spend most of my time on. You attend university? Yeah, although I'm thinking about dropping out. Oh. Sofia, you are truly filled with surprises. You own your own land and you attend school. How jealous I am. Why don't you do the same? Oh no, I'm not allowed. Of course you are. Anyone can attend within reason. But, well... Would it get in the way of my marriage? You're engaged? Amelie shook her head. No, not yet, but I'm only 19. I'm sure my father's prepared my dowry. Arranged marriage? Yes, naturally. I don't think I'll ever get married. Really? Doesn't your family object? I don't think they really mind as long as I'm happy. Well, it's... It's be dark. Shall I draw you a bath? It's wonderful. Have you skipped dinner tonight? Is she in the bathroom? Before she left the room, Sofia took one last look at where the note that noose once hung. Again, another occurrence of the oddity difference in their culture, in their upbringing, perhaps, and how they live. Alone in the hallway, Sofia peered back up the grand staircase, past the large, stained glass window, at that dark door, shut tight. A moment later, Amelie popped back out of the bathroom. Feel free to go inside and make yourself comfortable. I will return with a towel in a moment. Thanks, Amelie. What's inside the bathroom? Water spewed from the rusted pipes into the steel-lined wooden bathtub. Rusted pipes. Everything else was silent. Sofia took careful steps forward and peered into the bath. All seemed normal. With a sigh, she finally let her shoulders relax. Yet in her mind, all she could see was that woman with her outstretched hand reaching towards her. Touched her hand to her chest. It still shook. She stumbled forward until her hands rested on either side of the washroom basin. Fingers held on tight, till her knuckles were bone white. It's okay, Sofia. You're just tired. Her eyes traveled up to the mirror. It was embellished with a golden frame. She stared at her reflection. She was still herself. It was all a figment of her imagination. That's when she saw it. Oh no. Mirror. Standing behind her was a young woman with long, blonde hair that nearly reached down to the floor, and deep, blood-red eyes. Hi, Lilika! She didn't try to speak or make any movement. She just stared with her big, dark eyes. Who? Sofia wanted to spin around to confront the girl, but her whole body was frozen stiff. The young woman finally started to move, one step at a time, maintaining eye contact through the mirror. She crept closer, closer and closer, until Sofia swore she could feel her breath on the back of her neck. Her mouth seemed to be moving, but no words escaped her lips. Who are you? She spun around, but no one was there. The water overflowed from the tub, spilling out over the floor. Sofia rushed forward to turn off the tap, and noticed it. The water that came from the tap was red! A dark, deep red. Holy crap. She hurriedly turned the tap for what felt like forever, and finally it stopped. Sofia stared at the dark liquid inside the tub. Without thought, her hand dipped in. When she withdrew it, each finger was dyed red. Something about it captivated Sofia. Oh no. She undressed one layer at a time, peeling away the still damp clothing and stepping toward and into the bathtub. It sank down, until everything under her shoulders was submerged into liquid. It felt heavier than water, much heavier. She stared directly ahead, those blood-red eyes reflected in her mind. Why not just end it here? You're scared, aren't you? Just sink down. Accept your fate. Accept it. She could no longer hear the sound of the door opening. As her face sunk down into the liquid, her eyes shut. Sofia, I knocked but didn't hear a reply. I brought you a towel. Sofia's eyes sprung open. The water was clear and the tap was still running, causing it to overflow onto the floor once again. Uh-oh. Sofia drew her knees to her chest, still facing away from Amelie's voice. Heat rose to her cheeks. Being seen like this by her. Oh, Sofia, please forgive me. I didn't realize you had already entered the bath. No, it's okay. I'm sorry. You just surprised me. I'm just kind of having a moment here. I'll leave the towel over here. Thanks. The door shut again. Bye! So Sofia finally turned back to look at where Amelie once stood. No one was there anymore. Amelie? Not a woman in a long green dress? Or a young lady with blonde hair? She sighed. What's going on? She sank into the water, all this time fully conscious of what she was doing. Not feeling all that much better, she stepped out and took hold of the towel that Amelie had left for her. Water fell from her body as she stared at the cloth. The towel was blue, similar to her hair. The towel was old and full of holes that would seem to be burn marks. Reluctantly, she wrapped it around her body. What is going on in this house? Outside the door, Amelie's voice called out to her. Let me come help. Sofia, when you're done there, you can come up to your room. Okay, thanks, Amelie. Who's she helping? Lilika. She shivered. It became awfully cold. The towel did little to bring her warmth. Picked up her discarded clothes and redressed. Her clothes felt forward and wrong on her. Sofia took a deep breath and swallowed hard. I'm okay. Everything is fine. The hall was already darkened, with no light spilling in from the windows. A few sconces attached to the walls were lit with 5 flames, but it offered little in the way of calming her. Step, step, step. The floor creaked under her weight. She stopped outside of her bedroom. Inside she could hear talking. Put her ear to the door. Did we already speak of this? You cannot leave the house. But surely the greenhouse will be safe. No one else uses it. There's only a few steps from the back door. It is unsafe. You know this. What has gotten into you? Because of your friend? I just thought it would be nice to at least sit in the sun. Then you may sit by the window in the dining hall. It's really so unsafe that even taking a foot outdoors would be dangerous. Yes. Sofia opened the door and entered the room. Amelie stood by herself, making the bed. Sofia, I'm so done with the bath. Sofia looked away, thinking of what had happened in that bathroom. Were you talking about the greenhouse? Yes, did you see it when you arrived? I did, but it looked as if the plants inside had died. Oh, that's impossible. It's barely been any time at all since the gardeners left. I'm sure the plants inside are more sturdy than that. Even if they had died, maybe we could go in and replant some things tomorrow. How wonderful. Have you not heard a word I said? It is unsafe to do so. Oh. Don't be such a spoil sport. I think it'll be perfectly fine. It's getting late now, so I'll leave you to retire. If you need anything, my room is just upstairs on the left. Good night, Sofia. The door shifted before Amelie could even reach to touch it. Sofia's eyes locked in on the movement. Amelie, would you stay for a while? Oh boy. This is fucking terrifying from Sofia's perspective. Is something the matter? Just a little homesick. Sofia sat down on the bed before resting her head on the pillow. It was hard. Of course, why don't we chat for a while? And come join me. Sofia gently patted the spot beside her in the bed. In the bed? Okay. Sofia looked towards Amelie in the low light. Right now she seemed hauntingly beautiful, as if she were nothing more than a ghost. Thanks for staying with me for a while. Are you a ghost? Is Lilika a ghost? What is happening? It's nothing to worry about. Truly, I'd wanted to spend more time with you, too. Really? You don't find me boring? You're the most interesting person I've ever met. Be silly. I am being completely honest. You truly are so unique. Oh, I think the same about you. Never met anyone like you. Really. Her mind flashed back to all she had seen. Really, she truly had never met anyone like Amelie. I'm gonna try and not completely reread this conversation, because we did see this already. Tell you everything. Tell me something about yourself. Partially blind in my right eye. Partially blind. Tell me something, she thought. Tell me what's going on here. Tell me I'm not insane. When I was 12, I stole the cookie jar from the... Yeah. What a mischievous child. I'm sure your brother wasn't all too pleased. Like, are you actually a ghost from a bygone era? Still tied to this place somehow. In a relatively human form. And everyone else who used to live here are all legitimately ghosts. Lilika, her parents are dead. I mean, that's pretty clear, right? Your parents gotta be dead. Amelie shook her head. He died when he was 16. Scarlet fever. That smells of... This happened a long, long time ago. You're worth plenty. More than plenty. Oh. Truthfully, Then. Oh. I felt sick to my stomach. Away. Outside the house. Whether it's the ghost that's binding her here, the ghosts of the place that are binding her here, or she's a ghost that's bound here. Something about the prospect of leaving this place she can't do. Yes, away. Away from this place. It's okay now, you'll be okay. Come stay at my house. I could show you around my school. I'll have to go through with an arranged marriage. My dearest friend and I actually... Lilika says, no lovey-dovey shenanigans here. Lilika? Oh. Defy your fate again. There's 3 of these. At some point, the 2 women had gotten close enough together that they could feel each other's breath on their lips. I feel like I know what this prompts. Going to bed. Please rest well. We can talk more about it in the morning, right? Right. Good night, Amelie. I'll see you tomorrow. Amelie left the room. Meanwhile, Sophia's eyes studied the space. Well? Accept your fate. For some reason, Sofia just couldn't sit still. She tried to lay down to rest, but the turn this way and that. Easy. How? Get some water. Exploring on her own is not a good idea. The hallway was dark, most of the sconces having been blown out already. He stepped carefully through the space, conscious of the sound her footsteps created. It was by the stairwell. Hand-painted portraits were lined up in rows on either side of the hall. She stared up the grand staircase. Each step was inviting, enticing her to make the ascent. Large green eyes stared once again at the imposing stained glass window, then to the doors that awaited upstairs. Her hand rested against the kitchen door, her fingers dancing over the handle. It stayed there as her mind debated with itself. Waiting. Come here. Come visit us. Her hand dropped to her side as she ascended. Past the glass window, to the next floor. 2 doors awaited her. A chill ran through the air as a scene played out before her. 2 women dragged a man's body up the staircase, leaving a trail of blood on the otherwise pristine carpet. Pushed open one of the doors. The man's head hit the final step, but he made no move to stop them, nor cried out in pain. He was already long dead. Figures disappeared into the room. Sofia blinked. The door was shut again. She trembled. The master bedroom. Behind that closed door, a voice called out to her. The words were much too faint to make out. Her hand rested against the handle. Sofia could stop it from shaking. Careful motion. She pushed the door open. Musty smell came from further inside the dark room. Sofia, peering into the darkness, quickly took hold of one of the lit candles near the room and stepped inside. Portrait sat above a large canopied bed. The curtains were pulled back, hiding whatever was inside. The portrait only sat beside a woman with a green dress and brown hair, done up into a bun. Yeah, that is. For sure. Standing beside them was a man with an imposing brow and a large beard. Family of mice ran from under the bed and out of the room. Sofia jumped to the side, narrowly avoiding them. Step, step, step. Each step brought her closer to that bed. Each step made her chest feel heavier, tighter. She stood before the bed and reached a trembling hand to the curtains that hid whatever lay inside. Wind blew from somewhere unseen, and her candle extinguished. Behind her, the door shut, and the room plunged into near-complete darkness. Amelie, is that you? I'm sorry I came in here after you asked me not to. I'll just go now, okay? Her body fell forward before she had a moment to react. She tumbled through the curtains and landed on something hard that rested on the bed. What? Curtains flew open and the moon shone in from outside. Uh-oh. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. The body she was expecting to find was absent. In its place, 2 skeletons, long ago decayed. They laid side by side, one smaller, the other larger. Now, one was on either side of her. Her scream pierced through the air, but no one came running. She tried desperately to squirm, to run, but it felt as if something was sitting on her, holding her down. She struggled. She saw it. 2 dark red eyes hanging above her, watching. You won't take her away from me. Sighed Sofia 1 or 2. She's mine. Oh, that's fucking terrifying. Holy shit. Wow. This is a horror game. Just want to see how some things change. Let's make different tea. Father imported this for Mother, but I'm sure she won't mind if I borrowed a little. Alright, tea borrowed. Why don't you give you a pink towel? This one reminds me of her eyes. Win? Amelie's story really is Sophie's fate. It's 3 endings of Lilika's story. Now. First defy our fate. Happens pretty soon, I think. When it comes time to, when Sophie's left to her own devices, it's clear she falls under the influence of the ghosts of this place. So, I don't know if it'll let us skip through this, but it's, yep. It's terrifying. We're waiting for you. Won't go poking around anyway. Defy your fate. Out. Amelie. Yes? Nothing. Take your time. Actually, is it okay if I ask you something? Of course it is. Is there someone else in the house with us? Aha! There's no one else apart from myself, you, and Lilika. And Lilika is... She's just gone into the kitchen. Didn't you see her enter? Right. My vision must be playing up. Is something the matter? No, it's fine. I'll wait for you inside. That is concerning. Now, if we... I'm going to drop a save in case it wanted to skip through. When was the second one? No, it happens... Fire fate. Sorry, you scared me. Is everything alright? You stared at the spot the woman was only a moment ago. Both she and the noose had disappeared. Amelie, something is the matter, isn't it? Did something happen within this room? Happen? What exactly do you mean? Did a woman with brown hair, tied into a bun, and a dark green dress ever live here? Well, it sounds to me like you're describing my mother. Your mother. Oh, is this going to reveal to Amelie what happened to her parents? Yes, she's just as you described, but you couldn't have seen her here. She's still away. Right. Let me pour us the tea before it gets cold. It was oolong tea. Okay, still bitter and musty. Moving along. And things are not well. A third defy your fate. The towel was pink, similar to her favorite hoodie. Cute. The towel's also old and musty. This is really concerning. Is Amelie still alive and trapped here? Or is Amelie a ghost herself? Lilika? Defy your fate! Defy your fate. Defy your fate. Should be going to bed. Please rest well. We can talk more about it in the morning, right? Right. Good night, Amelie. I'll see you tomorrow. Amelie, wait a moment. Yes? What does Lilika look like? What a funny question. You've seen her plenty of times already. With my eye, I sometimes struggle a little. Right, my apologies. Sophie doesn't want to admit she's seeing ghosts. For Amelie's sake? Or... She has long blonde hair, done up like this. Amelie pretended to put her hair into 2 low ponytails. What color are her eyes? Red, and she wears a dress of white and black, with a red ribbon the same color as her eyes. Thank you, Amelie. Good night. See you in the morning. Amelie left the room. We've defied our fate thus far. Defy your fate. Are you here, Lilika? Silence followed. If I stay here, will I live to see tomorrow? More silence. She gulped. The flame by the side of her bed flickered wildly. Sophia laid back, shutting her eyes. She felt as if someone was watching her, waiting. Waiting and biding their time. Cold tendrils wrapped around her throat like a snake, cool like ice and getting tighter and tighter. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't even move. She opened her eyes. But no one was there. Sophia wasted no more time. She jumped to her feet and quickly shoved them back into her shoes and headed for the door. It opened without any resistance. Outside the room, the hallway was dark, lit only by a handful of candles and sconces. Sophia swallowed and stepped out. The house was silent. Sophia took careful steps, but the floorboards still squeaked loudly beneath her. During the day she hadn't even noticed it, but now, wrapped in darkness, it seemed as if those small sounds would wake whatever was sleeping inside this house. Amelie! Lilika! She whispered, but heard no response. Upon being met with only more silence, her footsteps sped up. Far in the distance, she heard something shift, a slight sound, one that wouldn't normally be noticed. For Sophia, it was enough to make her heart race. She sped to the end of the hall and stood at the bottom of this grand staircase. Above, her eyes honed in on 2 doors in particular. Master bedroom and the door to Amelie's room. Amelie. The choice was obvious. Sophia raced up the stairs and stood in front of the door to her pen pal's room. But as she went to knock, the door fell open. Amelie, are you in here? She received no reply. Sophia's head spun around. From somewhere deep in the dark, a gentle tune was being played skillfully. Her arms dropped to her side. Sound consumed her. Oh no. Sophia drifted back out of Amelie's bedroom. chasing that dreamy song. Step, step, step. The darkness, all that mattered was that sound. She came to the end of the hallway. A single door stood in her way. A bookcase was pushed to the side. Without a second thought, she pulled it open. Oh. In the center of the room, surrounded by candles, Amelie sat, her skirt fanned out around her. Yours, Marion? Right out over the floor were piles of letters. Upon closer inspection, each was filled with words that had been crossed out and signed with yours, Marion. Amelie? Amelie, are you awake? Her eyes were shut tight, and her hands moved enough to play the sorrowful tune. Please listen to me, Amelie. Lilika she isn't... I'm not what? Oh no. You're going to leave her, aren't you? Sofia heard the door shut behind her. She backed up quickly and tried the handle, but it was stuck. Amelie's eyes finally opened. In place of her usual golden eyes was a glare of deep red. Amelie, snap out of it. Please, snap out of it. You want to take her away. Amelie, please. One by one, the candles blew out, and the two were plunged into darkness. Amelie's body slumped forward and crashed to the ground. Oh no. It's nice to meet you, Sofia. That is Lilika's silhouette. I'm sure we're going to have a fun time living together. Since you will be staying with us after all, right? That's an interesting turn of, oh boy. Stay with us. Oh boy. Lilika. Lilika. Wow, okay, that just gives us a lot more to think about. Who was Marion? What is the true situation of Amelie and Lilika? What we encountered there seemed to be a case of possession. Or is it even that? There are multiple personalities at hand. I don't know. And I'm really intrigued. Wow. We will see soon enough, I suppose. Yeah, I like how we're doing, how I've decided to do this. Shorter videos, but split the story up based on main character. So next time, Lilika's story. 3 endings. Perhaps the truth will be revealed after all. Whew. This is... Oh. I did not expect this to get as much into horror as it has, but I'm all here for it. I'm terrified to learn whatever truth awaits us in Lilika's story. Hopefully we can get a good ending for possibly the 2 living protagonists here. I still have my doubts. I still wonder if Lilika herself isn't in some way a ghost. 2. She seems distinctly human. She seems distinctly human. Lilika seems to be just straight up a ghost. And what was the outcome of defying our fate? Really wound up leading to Lilika changing her tune, I suppose. Instead of driving Sofia to death because of her getting in the way of their life at the mansion. Perhaps Sofia discovered too much, so the alternative is to keep Sofia there. That is where things stand. Oh gosh. We will see. We will see. Till next time. Until then.